Before I had a sailboat, I had a canoe. That canoe carried me all around the local bays and islands of my homeland on the west coast of Canada, filling me with a sense of wonder and convincing me that I wanted to spend my life on the water. Sailboats were a natural progression from that, but it all started here, in this place, in this exact boat. Aladino and I were lucky enough to have some time to visit my parents in Canada this winter, and while we were there, I wanted to show Aladino, and by extension show you, how I grew up. So yesterday morning I checked the weather forecast just to see what was going on, and I saw that there was 3 days of sunshine, which is not something that happens all too frequently in the Canadian winter. So I immediately said, okay, we have to go do something. And I looked at a bunch of trails, and it was complicated with getting rides to and from the trails. So then I thought, why not just carry the canoe down to the beach in front of my house, and we'll go camping on some of the islands right in front of where my parents are. So that's what we decided to do. We're getting things ready. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning now. Sun is just about to peek over the horizon, I think. And we're gonna go spend the night on an island called Gambier Island.
It floats!
Wow, the water's so clear this morning. So I first learned how to steer a canoe about when I was 12, I guess. My dad took me out in this very canoe in this very spot, and we paddled out to that island over there. Sorry, I'm not really doing it now because I'm focusing on talking. But we paddled out to that island, and he steered on the way there, and then on the way back I had to steer. And the whole way home we were just zigzagging. I couldn't get it. It took me a little while. But at least now I can steer a canoe with some degree of proficiency. We paddled out to Keats Island just as the sun was making its first appearance. Now is one of the most beautiful times of day, so we're taking it very slow, filming a little bit here and there, paddling a little bit here and there. But once the sun is up and it's a bit harsher, then we're gonna hightail it over for Gambier Island. Gambier is kind of shaped like a hand. It's like a palm. I've got the lens cap in my hand, but it's like a palm, and then there's these fingers sticking out, and obviously in between the fingers are these bays. And in 2 of the bays are campsites, so we're gonna spend the night at one of those, and we're not sure yet. Potentially stay there 2 nights, or move camp tomorrow morning and try out the other campsite. But we'll see what we end up deciding upon. There are seals everywhere here, and they always like to play hide and seek. You see them and then they watch you for a while, and then they slip under the water, and then you have no idea where they're gonna pop up next. There's often these bays where everything just washes into it. So this bay is definitely one of those. It's full of logs and this old dock. We were contemplating trying to tie the dock to shore and then having our own private dock to tie the canoe to, but I think we want to go a bit farther afield. We're still on Keats Island, which is the one right in front of my parents' house, so we want to get over to Gambier at least. Look, do you see behind me?
5.
They've just been following us this whole way. And every time they think that we're, oh look, they keep popping up. Every time they think that we see them, they go under again.
Look ahead, the sea is calm, and I know we've been through a lot, but just wait. Wait for better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails.
just stopped for kind of a lunch or snack break on this dock, and this is where the little kind of water taxi ferry comes often to tie up. I don't know what its schedule is. I don't even know if it has a schedule or if it's on demand, but we tied the canoe up alongside and we'll have a little snack.
We are dreamers of the shore.
At about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we entered the little bay where we'd be spending the night.
Wow, beautiful, isn't it?
We pulled the canoe up onto the beach, checked out the area, and Aladino ate a much-needed snack. Are you happier now that you have some food in your mouth, Deanie?
Yeah, I need snacks all the time. Even the subscribers know
More snacks!
Sure, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn.
We've got the tent set up now, and we've set a fire up on the beach. We're going to cook dinner down there. When in the Canadian wilderness, it's always nice if you can to cook away from the tent, just so that you're not attracting animals to the place that you're going to sleep. So we're going to cook down on the beach with a fire, and we have some salmon that we brought with us. Unfortunately, we didn't catch it, but next best thing, we bought it and it's wild. So I reckon that we've probably got about 2 more hours of light left before it starts to get really dark here. And we're going to make the most of that by preparing our camp so that we don't have to be doing any kind of work in the dark. I'm going to try and make a bear hang. So usually what you do is you hang your food from a tree far out on the limb of a branch where they can't get it. So I'm going to go grab the rope and I'm going to see if I can find a suitable branch and then see if I'm a good enough shot to throw the rope over it. We'll have to see. So I found a branch which looks okay for a bear hang just behind me. It's right there, that one. I have 2 bundles of rope actually because I don't think one of them on its own would be long enough, and I'm going to try and throw it over that branch. I am terrible at throwing things, so this is going to be a bit of a challenge. What I might have to do is tie a stick to one end, and that extra weight helps to throw it a bit higher. Look at that! I am so proud of myself. I actually got that first try, first throw, and it's over. Okay, so now I need to try and ease it down over the branch. So hopefully the weight, the stick, will allow it to drop down if I kind of flick the rope a bit. Okay, I need 2 hands for this. I'm gonna put the camera down again. I did it. So this end of the rope is what I'm going to attach the food bag to. And then this branch is like perfectly situated, or this root rather, is perfectly situated to secure the other end of the rope to. With everything set up for the night, we headed down to the beach to cook our dinner. It's always a wonderful feeling when your body is tired from a day of exercising to get you to this beautiful place. The sun is falling down and the campfire is building up. I've got a view of the ocean. Everything is exactly how I hoped that it would be for this trip. So this is the area of the world that made me fall in love with boats. And every time I come back to this place, I can see exactly how that happened. Because I mean, it's so remote, while at the same time having wonderful communities of people with just really interesting artistic inclinations. And like the communities of people here are often quite unique and eclectic. There's usually wind during the day, and there's tons of protected anchorages where you can just slide your boat in and spend the night in perfectly calm waters, just like glass. And usually in the mornings, the water it's just like glass. I mean, it's gorgeous. In the winter, there are a few more storms, but you have to know your spots, and then you should be able to weather them just fine. But it's just a sailor's paradise, and the more that I sail in other places of the world, the more I realize how good I had it here. There's so much to explore. There's so much freedom to explore. There's so many interesting communities and people along the way. And I really like the sort of can-do, do-it-yourself attitude that you find here as well, as opposed to like the look at me, I have money and a big fancy boat. It's much more like, look at me, I have no money and I still have a boat because I made it work, and I love that attitude. So I'm really happy to be back in this area right now. It feels like home. The next morning, we rekindled the fire to cook breakfast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're definitely getting better at this. By the time we're having breakfast and have a warm coffee, we got a fire started also. It's not actually that cold, but I love it. Having a fire makes everything nicer. Winds were howling at night, but we were nice and cozy in our sleeping bag. It was really lovely, and we can't really see the sunrise from here because we're a bit in a valley, but still, this morning light is beautiful. A cup of coffee is mandatory. There's the fire.
Here's our breakfast. Howalanda! Da-da-da-da! And you get a much farther swing, a much greater radii. Whee! And then you can do the spin and the twirl, and you can do the gymnastic, pretty acrobatic lady. And there's the rope swing tutorial.
Oh, there's my pretty gymnastic lady.
We slowly packed up all of our things, putting it all into the canoe, and then we started to paddle. We thought we'd go camp at the other campsite on Gambier that I knew of, but as usual, our plans changed throughout the day. We stopped for lunch at a secluded little beach, and then not far from there, we found a gorgeous rocky outcrop that we thought looked ideal for camping. And there we were. We had a small boat which we could carry on our shoulders, but which had nonetheless carried us and everything we could need over to this spot of paradise. The complexities of a well-equipped sailboat are what make it safe and comfortable, but there is something so deeply satisfying about just keeping it simple. A canoe and a tent, a hollow shell and a bit of fabric. As the sun grew lower and more rich in color, I looked down at the beach where our canoe sat, pulled up beyond the reach of the tide. My dad got that canoe when he was about my age. It's been sitting in our front yard since I was born. It sparked in me a love for the sea. I remember sitting in the middle of it when I was too young to even paddle, as my parents took my brother and I out for a day trip to the local islands. So many memories in such a simple boat. It needn't be fancy to be perfect. The next morning we awoke to the sun and the sound of waves and the sound of birds seeping through the thin walls of our tent. We slowly put everything back into the canoe and set off once again, this time to return home.